Okay, number 2. Difference between a census and a sampling. A sampling is part of the population, but a census is the entire population. So sampling is part of it, census is the entire population. What is replication in an experiment, and why is replication important? Replication is the ability to do the experiment a second time or more than once and end up with the same results. Why is that important? It just proves that your original study or your original experiment was true. Number 6, a double-blind experiment is used to increase the placebo effect. That would be false. It's used to decrease the placebo effect. However, placebo effect is the ability to see a different, or the ability for someone to take a placebo and think that it's doing them good. Meanwhile, it's not doing anything for them. A census is a count or part of a population. That is also false. A census is an entire population. Number 10, select a cluster sample, divide a population into groups, and then select all the members in at least one, but not all the groups. That is true. That was like the map of Beaver County. We broke it into clusters based on the different towns, and then we selected people from, or selected all the members from different towns in Beaver County. Number 12, say whether this is an observational study or experiment. Research has demonstrated in people at risk for increased cardiovascular disease at 2,000 milligrams per day of acetyl L-carnitine over a 24-week period lowered blood pressure and improved insulin resistance. That would be an experiment. You can only assume that the researchers are giving them the acetyl L-carnitine over the 24-week period. Number 14. To study predator-prey relationships in the Bering Sea, researchers looked at the feeding behaviors of 3 species. Blacklegs, I have no idea what that word is. Kittiwakes, thick-billed murres, and northern fur seals. So all they're doing is they're looking at the feeding behaviors. That makes it an observation. So it's an observational study. Not bad. That's the end of the first page of them. Number 16, a footwear company developed a new type of shoe. That's weird. Footwear company developed a new type of shoe designed to help delay the onset of arthritis in the knee. 80 people with early signs of arthritis volunteered for a study. One half of the volunteers wore the experimental shoes, the other half wore regular shoes that looked exactly like the experimental shoes. The individuals wore the shoes every day. At the conclusion of the study, their symptoms were evaluated and MRI tests were performed on their knees. They identified the experimental units and the treatment used in this experiment. The experimental units, those were the people who got the new shoe. and then the treatment was the new shoe. So then the treatment was the new shoe, but it says the treatments used in this experiment, so that would be the new shoe and the placebo. Part B, identify a potential problem with the experimental design being used and suggest a way to improve it. Well, it says it's supposed to delay the onset of arthritis. And so one of the problems that I have with this experiment is it starts with people who already have arthritis. How could we change it? We could start by choosing people who we don't know whether they have arthritis or not. Pick those people, then have the MRI done. It just makes it a little easier. So we can see right away, okay, this person has arthritis, this one does not. Let's give them both the actual shoe and see how it goes. The experiment is described as a placebo-controlled double-blind study. Explain what this means. So for part C, means the researchers and patients do not know who has the actual shoe. Well, who has the actual shoes. Let's make it and who has fake ones. So because the researchers and patients don't know, it's double blind. D, of the 80 volunteers, 40 are men and 40 are women. How could blocking be used in designing this experiment? So if we're going to use blocks, then the best way to do it would be to say 20 men and 20 women get new shoe. "20 men and 20 women get the placebo." By breaking them into blocks based on gender, we can then assign exactly half the new shoe, half the men the new shoe, half the men the old or the regular designer shoe, and then we can do the same for women. Okay, number 18 says use the 10th row of table 1 in appendix B to generate 10 random numbers between 1 and 920. Now we are always going to use the table that I gave to you in your notes. So make sure that you have your notes on this section so that you have the table. So here's a table of random numbers. I forget how many they asked for already. We need to generate 10 random numbers. Okay, so you go down to the 10th row. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And it says all the numbers have to be between 1 and 920. And so we can start by choosing the first three numbers, or you could do the last three numbers. Whatever you do for the first number, make sure you do it for all of them. So it's 692, 386, 38, 83, 478, 27, 115, 382, 8, 581, 984 is too big, so then you jump to 243. And that would be your list of numbers. Okay, let me pull my calculator up and we will generate some random numbers. Now for this case, in number 20, it wants us to generate 19 numbers between 1 and 1,000. So I'm going to go into math. Rand int 1, comma, 1,000, comma, and then it wants 19 numbers. So you say 19, close your parentheses, and enter. And there are my 19 numbers: 944, 909, 147, 515, 406, 734, 44, 340, 996, 201, 799, 952, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Here's the thing. If I ask you to do this on your test, there would be no way for me to tell whether or not you used a random number generator or if you just randomly threw numbers on your page. So as long as you would have 19 numbers down, there's no way for me to tell you that you're wrong. Alright, number 22. Volunteers for an experiment are numbered from 1 to 90. Volunteers are to be randomly assigned to two different treatment groups. Use a random number generator different from the one you used in exercise 21 to choose 45 subjects for the treatment group. The other 45 subjects will go into the control group. List the subjects according to number in each group. Tell which method you use to generate the random numbers. Okay, so instead of doing rand int this time, if it wanted us to do a different one, we just do rand I think this works. So it's from 1 to 90. You need 45. We have to do random again. But anyways, you would just do random 1 to 90, 1 comma 90 comma 45, and then just list those numbers out. No real reason, rhyme or reason for selecting the person. It's not like you're choosing evens or odds. They're just being randomly assigned to different treatment groups. Okay. So that takes us to number 24. Chosen at random, 500 rural and 500 urban people age 65 or older are asked about their health and their experience with prescription drugs. This would be a stratified sample. The reason it's stratified is they're broken up into two different groups, 500 rural, 500 urban. So they're strata, two different categories, and then we're going to survey them. Number 26. After a hurricane, the disaster area is divided into 200 equal grids. 30 of the grids are selected, and every occupied household in the grid is interviewed to help focus relief efforts on what the residents require most. That is called a cluster sample. We've broken it up into 200 equal grids. 30 grids are selected, and every occupied household in the grid. So we break it into groups based off the geographic location, and then every person in those locations has to participate. Number 28. Every 10th person entering a mall is asked to name his or her favorite store. So it's every 10th person. That means that we broke it down into a system, which makes it a system for choosing the person, which makes it a systematic sampling. Number 30. From calls made with randomly generated telephone numbers. That tells you right there it is a simple random sample. It is a randomly generated telephone numbers. Number 32, the most popular type of movie among 100,000 online movie rental subscribers. That is a sampling. The reason it's a sampling is there's more than 100,000 online movie rental subscribers. Why does text messaging while driving increase the risk of a crash? So this would be a biased question. And the reason is because it already assumes that the risk is increased. Number 36, why does the media have a negative effect on teen girls' dining habits? Kind of the same thing here. It's biased, and it's already assuming that it has a negative effect. It's just asking you why. Like, so what's the reasoning? They can't ask you questions like that. Of course, they always do, but it assumes a negative effect. Okay, observational studies are sometimes referred to as natural experiments. Explain in your own words what this means. I will explain in my own words what this means. It's natural. You're not doing anything with them. You're just observing them from a distance and checking to see what the behavior is. Number 40, who picked these people? Some polling agencies ask people to call a telephone number and give their response to a question. This is an advantage and a disadvantage of a survey conducted in this manner. So this would be a convenient sampling. Well, I guess that's part B. But it would be a convenient sampling. And an advantage of it is that you only get people who are interested in the study. However, that's also a disadvantage. If I don't care anything about the question that you're asking, then I'm not going to make that call to call you back. So that's the disadvantage and the advantage at the same time. Okay, get started on your chapter review. We're going to have a test the day after tomorrow. Remember, it's a chapter test, so you're going to have 2 days, Thursday and Friday, and you're allowed to use your notes.